Hi, my name is Lauren. I'm going to be taking you on this journey for the major sports events mega event planning course. Currently, I lead the planning and execution for the FIFA Fan Festival project with FIFA. What that means is that I'm overseeing the project for building 11 fan festivals throughout the US for the World Cup. This will be the biggest festival atmosphere the world has ever seen. Prior to my current role, I played a key part in the Rio 2016 Summer Olympic Games, where I contributed to award-winning television production operations, and I was recognized with an Emmy for Outstanding Technical Team, which is a bit embarrassing, but figured I would highlight that to let you guys know that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to mega event planning. My work supported the global broadcast footprint for the games, and I coordinated between international federations, host broadcasters, technical suppliers to deliver live coverage to billions of viewers worldwide. Imagine during the last FIFA World Cup or during the last Olympics that you watched. It's one of the events that people around the world are participating in. And by participating, I mean taking in the information, whether they are there at the stadium watching the event or in a bar or at home watching it on TV. It's mass participation, mass viewership. It's the one thing that everyone in the world is simultaneously talking about, which is a really beautiful thing. So, for example, during the FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar, 3.4 million people came to the stadiums to watch the event. There was a 5 billion cumulative global TV audience via streaming, social platforms, and TV. That's huge. That's the biggest FIFA World Cup that we've ever seen people take part in from viewership and participation. Tokyo 2020, we saw broadcast to over 200 countries. The Olympic Broadcasting Services, which is Olympic Broadcasting Services is OBS. It's the host broadcaster for the Olympic Games. They delivered 9,500 hours of content and had 3 billion views over digital streams, TV, internet, etc., etc. It was the most connected games in history. Broadcasters also purchase integrated advertising inventory. For example, Fox or NBC can sell premium ad slots around match coverage at massive premiums, especially during high-demand matches such as the Olympic finals or a World Cup knockout game. They receive the exclusive rights to sponsorship integration, pre-roll ads, halftime studio branding, virtual overlays, and segment sponsorships, such as like a segment sponsorship would be halftime presented by this entity. This inventory is where broadcasters recoup billions of dollars. For example, NBC sold over $1.25 billion of advertising for Tokyo 2020, despite the COVID-19 related challenges. So while the broadcasters are spending a hell of a lot of money, they are ultimately recouping much of that money through advertising. As an example of product categories and strategies, at one World Cup, the retail team noticed that collectors were informally creating mini sets by buying one pin for each match they attended, even though the program wasn't really structured in that way. So for the next cycle, the licensing team deliberately released match-specific pins with consistent numbering and packaging, which is to say that sometimes we cannot possibly predict, even through all the research, how fans might engage with something. But we can adapt for the next cycle. And hopefully with the help of Fanatics for the 2026 tournament, we can adapt during the tournament should there be a particular exciting element to bring forth for the tournament. Okay, what is overlay? So before we talk about venue management or risks and escalations, we need to be clear about what overlay is, because this is one of the most misunderstood concepts that I've seen in my experience in the event industry. So when we talk about overlay, we're talking about temporary infrastructure and systems that are required to transform a venue into an event-ready environment. Overlay is not decoration, because the decoration would be signage and wayfinding, and that's managed by a different team. It's not branding either. It is the temporary infrastructure that is required to turn a normal venue into a venue that can safely, securely, and commercially host a once-in-a-generation event, like an Olympic Games or a FIFA World Cup. And again, structuring it with the Olympics or FIFA, because once you understand those two models, you can understand everything else. This was at the FIFA World Cup in Qatar. I think I saw someone write the question. So the commentators immediately raised concerns, and during the first match, several broadcasters reported difficulty tracking offside lines and wide play buildup. While the match aired without technical failure, the editorial confidence dropped. Commentators hesitated. They deferred to replays more often instead of what they were seeing visually on the ground, and flagged sightline issues to broadcast operations. The response was really swift. Overnight, the rails were lowered and re-angled before the next match. There was no on-air apology that was needed because the problem never really became visible to the audiences. It was just maybe perception. Internally, though, this was treated like a serious operational mess. So the key point is that press tribune issues rarely cause dramatic failures, but they can cause subtle erosion of quality in the overall product. So when these spaces are designed correctly, they fade into the background. But when trust must be built on infrastructure that most audiences never see. Great commentary usually isn't just about talent. It's about sightlines, cables, and desks that work, and a lack of infrastructure that's nearly invisible to the eye. So, VIPs, hospitality guests, and VVIPs, they're all different people. So hospitality guests, they buy the experience. VIPs are invited because they hold power or value, and the VVIPs, they can also be determined as your heads of state, your royals, so those would be your tier 2. They trigger protocol and national security overlay. So in the last slide, I brought up the VIP categories, and I've characterized them as, I'll go back to the last slide. I've characterized them according to what I've seen across the US and North America and in Europe. But please note that sometimes, if you're in and operating in a different location entirely, as was my experience working in the Middle East, the tier 2 political, the heads of state, will supersede the tier 1. So I saw this when I was working in Doha during the 2022 FIFA World Cup, where we had a delay to a game because the one head of state in particular had not arrived to the stadium in time for the kickoff, so everything was delayed. And no, I will not tell you who that head of state was. So if everyone in the room has to agree, in my opinion, and you can disagree with me, I won't take it personally, if everyone in the room must agree, then you've already failed. Crisis leadership requires clarity, not necessarily democracy, which I think will be a controversial statement. The room exists in a main operations center, for example, to deal with risk and to deal with issues that are escalated to a government level at times. They exist to shorten time to action, not necessarily to debate the action. So hierarchy is extremely important when dealing with risks and issues on venues. And then in our main operations center or our command and control center, we are monitoring dashboards like you would see, like a war room, for example. We're monitoring dashboards to see crowd density heat maps, queue times, medical provisions based around the venue, where they're located, transport performance, weather, because weather can cause massive issues to the start of an event or to the transportation that are bringing people to the event. Social media sentiment, we are constantly monitoring, which is extremely important, and we're monitoring the broadcast impacts. So these dashboards are useless without authority, and the most advanced control rooms fail if no one can say, stop the ingress now should there be an issue with crowd control. Thank you all. I really appreciate your time. I'm so excited to meet all of you. This is It really makes me happy. This warms my heart. So we'll get started on Thursday.